Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm so happy that you're here again. If you're new to this channel, make sure you try and subscribe. I actually have a goal to hit 600 subscribers before the end of the month, so I really appreciate if you could help me out. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you for the support. Thank you for always tuning in to watch my content, and I'm so glad that you're here. So in today's video, we're going to be doing something really different. We are going to be doing project breakdown, and I'm going to be exploring this particular project that I did. It's more of a personal project, and we're just going to be looking at the breakdown. We're not going to be doing full tutorial, so this is more like an advanced tutorial basically. So we're just going to be doing the breakdown, and don't forget the project file is down the link in the description, so make sure you check it out if you are really interested in the project, so you can really need to take things apart and learn more. All right, so let's go in and I'll see you after the video. All right, so there are majorly just 4 frames here. So this is the first one here, then the second, the third, where I have all the spheres, and then the last, which is the end frame. I'm going to start breaking it down now. So let me start from the first frame. Now we have this circle busting out. So let me start with the background. So I'm just going to be soloing it so I can see what I'm doing here. Visually, it's just 4 color grading that is on it with the color combination that I have here. So if I solo this is what I have here. But then let me quickly make sure this is not matted. It's actually affirmated to this, and I have some effect applied to this. So it's just a white solid color. Then I applied CC ball action to it. Took some settings there so I can have these grid circles, and then applied deep glow to it to have that glow as well. So that's how I get to achieve that. But if you also notice in the main video, it's not looking exactly like this. So what I did was I created another solid. So let me uncheck this. So what I did was to apply radio wave effect to this, and with this we have something like this. So radio waves effect is a very simple, fast way of getting this kind of effect, circular effect. Of course, you have to do some tweaking, adjust the thickness, then play with the frequency to get a certain kind of result. So what I did, I made it white, and all I did was to make sure this is luma matte on this. When I did that, and I have something like this. So basically, the grid circle is actually going to be revealing where we have bright values of the radio wave. So that's practically how I achieve this circular busting out. If you want a tutorial on this, I'll be glad to do a full tutorial on that. So the next ones are these circle bursts. If I uncheck this and all of this together, you can see. So let me uncheck the radio waves and even the background so you can see. So this is what I have here. Basically what I did was simple, just solo one of it alone, and let me check this and this. So I have the circle here, so let me do no matte. So let me just solo this alone, right? So this is circle, this is the only thing I have. So it's just a simple circle scale animation, nothing more. If I press U, you can see that it's scaling from 0 to this value here. So basically what I did was duplicate it. If you check the one on top, can you see? But the only thing was I adjusted the opacity. You can see that the one under the opacity is kind of low. So basically what I did was to do, for me to have that circle burst effect in that certain way. So all I did was to do alpha inverted, and when that happens, it's actually going to be taking that away. So let me uncheck my transparency grid. So it's very hard to see, so let me uncheck that. But basically, if you do alpha inverted, this kind of effect you're going to get with circle on top. So basically, that's what I did with the other ones on top too as well. So let me solo. So basically, I just duplicated them and have different varieties of it, and adjusted their opacity as well. Then I have my arrow sphere. My arrow sphere has always been from the beginning. It's just simple scaling, scale out. And if you also notice, I have some effects on this. I added deep glow to it. I actually did a whole lot of deep glow on this project. It's just simple scale. As that is appearing, let me press U and all of this. So as that is appearing, you have this scale out with it, and that's how I get to achieve that effect. And if I check the remaining part of this part, you can see that I have all of this. So what gives it this different color, because everything is actually white, all the circles, is I play with the opacity and I also play with the blend mode. So you can actually see that some, most especially this very colored one here, right? So if I uncheck all of this, these are just simple stroke animation that I did to complement the animation. Basically, if I hold down this and press U, you can see the keyframes here. That's how I get to achieve all of that. I think these are like really basic stuff. So if I check the next thing that I have here, So let me unsolo all of this and show you this. So I have this small dots or small stroke circle just appearing and disappearing. So if I go into that composition, basically this is what I have here. And if I uncheck if I solo just one, right, this one right here, you can see it's just small dots, but then I applied deep blue to it. Then of course I also applied opacity animation to this. So I use old keyframe for me to just do that. So one is on 0, one is on 27, 70, 0. So that gives it this kind of animation, some low. So, and that's basically what I did, and I duplicated the whole thing for the rest, just as some has stroke on it. Then if I go back to my scene, it's actually Luma matted to the one on top. I don't know if that's correct, so pardon me if that's not. So if I open this up, what do we have? That same technique that I use for those other strokes. That's what I use here. It's just simple scale animation. If I find out about the kind of curves that I use, so this is the value curve here, and this will be the speed curve, right? Just a simple curve that I use for this. So if I go back, what I did was to make sure it's revealing from the center out. So can you see that it's coming from the center here and it's just blowing out, so it gives that kind of effect. And if we composite that on top of everything, this is what we have. So this is the first part of the animation. So now we'll go straight to the second part, which is this. It's quite easy and simple to do basically. So let me start with the hero element, the hero sphere, which is basically what now appears throughout the animation at the center. So if I press U, right, you can see I have different keyframes. So let me solo this first. So if I take it from here, you can see it's just simple, subtle scale. So just reinforce the movement of whatever it is that I have here. So it's just subtle movement. So it's just some form of follow through. And of course, that I added deep blue to this, and at one point I needed to even animate it down the line. Then if I have to look at the waves, I have actually applied some effect here. So let me uncheck all the effects so you can see what's going on here. So this is actually without the effects. Let's go into the wave. So practically what I did here, let me uncheck. Let's focus on one. So what I did here was to draw a line and apply wave warp. So let me show you what I mean. So if I uncheck all these effects, you can see that it's a line, and I added trim path to just make it reveal to this point. Let me just zoom in so I can really see what I'm doing. So it's just a line, and I use a pen to just draw it. So I have this trim path. Then I added wave warp to it. Of course, I animated some variables, the height, the width, so I can get something really cool like this. I took this and I duplicated it, same effect, but now I changed the wave height to 59. That's why I have this flipped. So if I just scroll over this is what we have. Then I activate the deep blue to do both. This is what we have here, right? And if you also notice, it's only one side that I did. So if I go back to my final scene, if I check my first effect, which is the mirror, it's just to make sure it reflects to the other side. And then if you also notice that I have one other effect here, if I activate this, if I open this up, I have optics composition, and I animated the field of view, and that's why I have this thing going on here. So if I press U, you can see the way I animated it. So from here, that's no value actually. Then when it gets to this point, I have this. So it's making it look as if it's warping round, or it's actually going really fast. It's selling that illusion. That's how I get to achieve this. And what's on top of it is just CC star bursts. So let me unsolo this. This is a solid layer, and all I did was to apply CC bursts, animated the speed, and of course added echo to it. So without echo, this is what we just have, right? So let me uncheck my hero element. So this is it. It automatically animates itself. Of course, I needed to animate the speed so it can match with the speed of my wave here. And of course, applying echo to it just gives it that speed lines, right? Like it's going in. So that's how I get to achieve this. So this is the second scene. So let's now go to the third scene. So for the third part, this is basically what I did. I'm not going to take so much time here because I've actually done a full tutorial on how to achieve this kind of sphere. I'll put the link in the description so you can check it out. But then I'm going to talk about how I get to achieve this grid, and this is still my hero elements going up. If I go down to my hero elements, if I check it, right, and let me quickly talk about the transition, right? Basically what I did was to do some form of match cut from one scene to the other. Let me quickly uncheck all of this. Let's see. So from this point to this point, right, you can see this is actually going in at the fastest, then I cut to this point. So how you get to achieve that is actually quite easy and simple. So if I click this now and press U, if you see on my speed, animated the speed, and if I highlight this, go to my graph editor, let me just zoom in towards the end, you can see I have this kind of curve. Using my speed graph, I have this kind of curve where it's at the fastest towards the end. And let me just adjust this a little bit. And if I go to my next scene, because this next scene actually use 3D, so if I toggle switches and mode, you can see that all my spheres, including the dots, including the grid, they're actually all on 3D. Okay, so and I created a camera for it and a 3D null for it. So if I press U on my null, you can see what I have here. So this is what is driving the whole scaling or zooming animation for it. If I click on this and press the graph editor, right, and I make sure it's on my speed graph, you can see from here that this starts from this, just the way the previous scene ends, this starts from there. So that's how you actually create a match cut, and that's basically the whole technique that I apply throughout. Okay, so that's it for this point. Now let me talk about how I get to achieve all of this here. But by the way, I am going to be making a match cut tutorial. I'm going to do that very soon, so be on the lookout for that. I know that that's one thing new motion designers find hard to understand, but I'm definitely going to be doing a tutorial on that, so be on the lookout for that. All right, so let me show you how I get to achieve all of this. These are just dots, so let me solo this. These are all the dots that are in line with the grid. So how did I get to achieve the grid? I just applied the grid effect on a solid, and I adjusted the border and every other thing here, so I achieved this. So basically I just created dots to be on it in a certain way, and of course I have all my spheres. Like I said, I have a full tutorial on how to achieve this kind of spheres. I'm not going to dive deep into that at all for today, so I'm just going to uncheck all of this. Yes, I have this adjustment layer. The reason I have this is because I needed to do some form of invert. So all this blink that I have here, giving different color, is derived from this adjustment layer. Let me actually rename this to invert flash. So from here, if I press U, so I can see the way I apply this. So actually use old keyframe, just in case you don't know what old keyframe is. So if I click on this and turn this into our normal keyframe, if you do F9 or do easy ease, it's changed to hourglass keyframe. But then you can also do old keyframe. So what that would do is to just hold the values instead of it simulating from one to the other. So that's basically what I did. So I just make sure that I adjusted the blend to original of the inverted. This is what I have here, and I was able to achieve all of this. And this is the end of the third frame. As this is going, then it comes back down, and at the point when this is like landing, our match cut to the last scene, which is going to be the 3D scene that I have here. So all of this majorly was done in 3D, and let me just solo the 3D scene itself for you. I actually did some compositing, so let me check my transparency grid so I can see the transparency there. Let me have something like this so I can see what I'm doing. Right, so all of this is 3D, and let me quickly show you how I get to achieve this in 3D. All right, so this is the scene. If I going straight into my camera, this is what I have, and basically I just did a simple position animation. One other thing was to add a target to always look at the sphere that I have here. Okay, I added target to always look at the first sphere that I have here. I think the most complicated part, not really complicated, but took me a while, was the lighting part. So first of all, let me even activate my Octane renderer. So this is what I have. So I actually use Octane for this because I find it easier to just get this done in Octane than trying to do it in native after native Cinema 4D. I'm so used to Octane right now. So, and these are like all the materials. So I won't dive deep into this because it's actually going to take a longer time for me to explain all of this. If you want a full tutorial on this, please kindly let me know. I'll definitely do. But let me just quickly explain to you the technique that I used for this. So if I go out of the camera, right, if I zoom out, and these are the lights that I use. Let me see if I can zoom out more so I can really see the lights. Okay, what I did was I went to the visibility, make sure it's not seen by camera. So if I check this, you're able to see all my camera that I use. So I've made sure that the visibility is on. And as you can see, I have this bright yellow light. So yeah, so this light here basically I go to the light settings, I just make it really warm. So I use these buttons here. You can make it cool, you can make it warm. I make sure, because of the kind of thing I'm trying to achieve, so I make it really warm like this. Then I have those tiny lights that I use. So they're actually quite small, right? So what I will do a full tutorial on this so that you can see how I get to achieve this real time. So these are all the small light that I use. They're actually quite small, but they are quite bright. So this is the light. You can see it's actually facing the other way around of the tunnel. And of course, most importantly, how did I get to achieve this tunnel? It's actually quite simple. I use stories. So let me just quickly show you that how I get to achieve this in a new project. So I'll do a new, and then all I did was to go to my primitive, click on Taurus, just the scale, the pipe radius, and then make sure it's oriented this way. Then I went to more graph, cloner, and I put this in here, go to my cloner, then change this to linear, and then I have to change the positioning. So this is not going to give me what I want, the Z is what I want, so I have to make sure this is 0, and I just have to increase this quite a lot, and of course increase the count to a lot. So this is how I get to achieve this. So let me just change it back to standard. So this is how I get to achieve all of this. All I need to do is just create a camera here, and I will just have to adjust it till it looks like this basically. And with that, I have something cool like this. So I'm just roughly showing you this. This is not how exactly I achieve it, but at least you have an idea. Okay, so I'm done with this now. I'm going to go back straight to my After Effects. I brought this into After Effects and I did a little bit of compositing. So if I go straight into this, I have to do some compositing. I'm not going to dive deep into this. Try and do a full tutorial on how to achieve this. If you want to see that tutorial, let me know in the comment section. I'll be happy to do that. So I'm going to go back here, and then you can see that I have this transparency grid going on here. So if I uncheck this, I still have some kind of bright lights happening here. And how I get to achieve that, so these are just simple circle shape or gradient shape. So let me uncheck this. So let me take this and check. Yeah, as you can see, they're actually the same sphere that I created the other time, but then all I did was to apply deep blue to it and then make sure it's on very high exposure. So I have this kind of bright light. So basically what I did was to take these two shape here, then composite it behind my 3D object, so I can have this bright light thing going on here. So basically that's how I get to achieve that. And here I just have a simple text. You might be wondering the kind of font I'm using. For this, I use Elemental End, quite looking interesting font, and I just apply simple text preset on it. Random fade up, so you can go into your text preset, effect and preset, and then random fade up is on animate end folder in text. So that's what I use, and I just have this simple text in going on here, and that's how I get to achieve it. So, but lastly, I just had to do a simple anticipation to scale out. So I did this, then I have this white bright thing here, and it's just simple without the effect. This is what I have, right? So with the effect, this is it. So what I did was to have the radius blown out a little bit, then reduce the exposure, then of course I increased the chromatic aberration too as well. That's why I have this, and then scale it back down so it can jump straight back to the beginning and form a loop. And that's basically how I achieved this. But then one of the things that I used to overlay on everything, as you can see, I have these two adjustment layer here. It was quick aberration. I think this is from plugging everything, and with this it just gives you this color shift. You can use this by using shift channel, but that's not efficient enough because I have to print up the whole thing. That is not going to be efficient enough for me. So I use this effect from plugging from everything, quick color aberration. And let me just uncheck this, right? So if I zoom in a little bit into this scene here, check it again, can you see it gives this color, just tiny bit color shift to the whole composition. And then the last thing that I added, so let me fit to screen, was a vignette. So this is it. This is without vignettes, and this is the vignette. So basically I added 60 vignettes and I adjusted the value, increased the pin light, and I achieved this. And that's basically what I adjusted to this. But if you also notice, the text is actually above the RGB because I didn't want the text to have the color aberration on it. I wanted that to really stand out. So that's why this is above. And we've come to the end of this breakdown. If you like more of this kind of tutorial, of this kind of breakdown, please let me know in the comment section. Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget the project file is in the link in the description. If you are here to subscribe, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up so that I could reach out to more people. Alright guys, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.